Bartleston Live, starring BSR Pockets, BSR Hot Rod, BSR Momo, BSR Joba, BSR Scar, BSR SR5, featuring Bubba J, Vince Conway, Trish Yeager, Bandit, Gear, Eddie D, Palmion, Eli, musical guest, BSR Mayhem, and your host, BSR Texan. Ladies and gentlemen, BSR Texan.
All right, thank you everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Spotter Stand. This week we've got with us Eddie D, BSR Pockets, and Palmian. How you guys doing tonight?
What's up, everybody?
What's going on?
Doing great, Texan. How are you, brother?
Doing well, thank you. From what I understand, Pockets is pulling double duty tonight. He is streaming live on Facebook, his trucking, and joining us on the Spotter Stand at the same time. Appreciate you being here, Pockets. We know you got a busy schedule, man.
That's groundbreaking streaming right there. Nobody else has ever done this before, I can guarantee you. I'm on one show on YouTube and I'm streaming on Facebook. So I don't know that anybody's ever done that. And we are joined by over 29 people in my stream. So they're going to hear everything we talk about tonight while I drive this big truck. So
how about
groundbreaking.
If they've got multiple windows, they can open a window, go to YouTube, BSR Tech, and they can see everything that's going on here as well. They can see all the renders and the points and all that good stuff. Of course,
yes,
they give a half a hoot about racing anyway.
Well, what I did was while the introduction was playing, I actually pulled that screen over to this screen over the top of the truck game and showed them, go to YouTube to BSR Texan, and you can listen, you can do what you just said to do. So yeah, it's actually pretty cool, but groundbreaking streaming here.
Absolutely, we are on the cutting edge.
Yes, so we are.
We're going to be doing things a little bit different tonight than the way I usually load up everything here for the Spotter Stand. I got off work a little bit late, didn't have time to get in here and load things up the way I normally do. So I've got just a couple of screen captures going, and we're going to flip back and forth between one screen that I'll be showing you guys the renders on and another one that will be doing the points and the standings and the schedule and all that stuff. So let's get right into it. We had a great week, another great week of racing here at BSR. On Wednesday night, the trucks were off once again, so we did run in the dirt. We were back at my hometown at the Devil's Bowl in the dirt. First time we've run at that track in quite some time. You know, we did run a series, a full 10 races, every one of those races at the Devil's Bowl. So a lot of the guys got used to that track, got used to doing some racing there, and we had some fun on Wednesday night at the Devil's Bowl. And this one,
we sure did.
The Devil's Bowl was a blast.
Yeah, and actually for Palmian, who joins us tonight, he's even closer to this track than I am. It's literally right outside of his backyard. He can hear the cars when they're racing there. He can see the lights. They had a fireworks show there for the 4th of July. All he had to do was step outside his door and get a great view of the fireworks. And it was his first time to race with us on the dirt.
Yeah, they actually had a fireworks show just this weekend too.
Really? What was the one this weekend for?
I don't know. All I know is after we were done racing, I heard engines out back. So then fireworks at the end.
I wonder if the Devil's Bowl ever complains about all the racing noise coming from Palmion's house.
I don't know.
You know
I
how
could set up
people,
some speakers and we can find out.
hey, you know how people complain about noise from the racetrack. I just wonder if the racetrack ever complained about the noise coming from your house.
Well, if he's got TeamSpeak set up over those speakers, there might be more complaints about all that.
The language.
So Wednesday night at the Devil's Bowl, it was Eli 114 who took the win at the Devil's Bowl. And like I said, I haven't loaded everything up like normal. This is just a screen capture of the BSR page and the render for Eli over there at BSR. I think Eli has probably sealed the deal with that win. Larry didn't have such a great race, Hot Rod. And we know Hot Rod was chasing him down for second place. Didn't have such a great finish at the Devil's Bowl. Had a little hard time with Eli pulling off the victory. I think the only way he's going to lose this championship with just one race to go is if he's a no-show at the last race. He might even could finish. I'm not sure. We'll see the points here in a minute, but he might could finish dead last. That's about the only way I think Larry is going to be able to catch him is if he can win the heat and win the race, and Eli possibly finish dead last, depending on how many drivers show up. So let's go over here to the other screen right quick. We'll take a look at what the schedule looks like here. Never shown you guys this before here on the spotter stand. I'm going to scroll down. We're going to take a look at all the races we've run. We started off with the Springfield Mile, and we are going to end at the Springfield Mile. That will be our last race of the season. That's the only dirt race left in this series. We moved on to Terre Haute, raced the Devil's Bowl early in the season. Fonda after that, Weed Sport, OCFS, Accord, back to Terre Haute. We raced at Fulton, Weed Sport, Canandaigua, Terre Haute. Once again, that's a great track to race at. As you can tell, we've got it on the schedule several times. Devil's Bowl this last week, and just one race left to go that will be on October the 30th, the day before Halloween. We're going to end the season off at the Springfield Mile, and that's going to be it's going to be another great race. That's a pretty big dirt track, Springfield Mile, and
Yeah, it's the longest one, isn't it? It's a mile. It's a mile of dirt.
Absolutely, it's got a long straightaway and some pretty long corners. I don't think it's that wide of a track now. Passing is not the easiest thing to do, but definitely some long straightaways and some sweeping corners at that track.
It is a fun track to race on because of the length. You can get some speed up going down into those corners on the dirt. It's just pure excitement.
Let's go take a look here. We're going to click and take a look at the race results from the Devil's Bowl, this last race. You see Eli 114 did get the win, also led the most laps, although that doesn't score him any bonus points here. Only bonus points in this series are for winning a heat race. You get 1 point for winning the heat race, and finishing order is just what it is, 1 point per position. So Pockets finishing in second place at the Devil's Bowl. And look at Gear Jammer in there, bringing home a third place on the dirt. Bubba J finishing up in fourth, and Eddie D rounding out the top five. Eddie D and Gear both with top five finishes at the Devil's Bowl in the dirt. Great job to both of those guys. Gear, I think you're out there watching. Hope you are. Great job with that third place finish, man, in the dirt. And you too, Eddie. Good job.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I got to say that was a fun race. This whole week was actually fun races as far as I was concerned.
Yeah,
they were competitive, door to door, wheel to wheel, and that's what racing is all about.
That's right. It was Kansas in the Cup and the Xfinity. Another great track to race at. A lot of people love that track. I think just about all of us love Kansas. We had some great racing all 3 nights, and it was a lot of fun. Let's move over here, and we'll take a look at the standings currently in this series. Just one race left to go. I think it was an 8-point lead going into this race, but as you can see now, Eli with a 15-point lead over Hot Rod. Rugrat holding on to that top 3. It was 68 down. Pockets closed in on her a little bit this last week. He finished a couple of spots ahead of her. He's 75 back, and I'm rounding out the top 5 down by 85 points. So it looks like Pockets, you're down by 7 points over Rugrat right now. Now, Rugrat not here with us this evening, but 7 points, that's definitely doable. You could take that 3rd spot away from her at this last race at the Springfield Mile, but you're going to have to work for it. 7 positions. You're going to have to finish ahead of her 6 positions and win a heat race just to tie. So she's been doing pretty well. If we go back over to the race results, I think she finished in 7th place this last race, and you finished in 2nd. So you gained 5 points on her.
Yeah, basically, I would have to win the race. She would probably have to finish last, which I would hate to see that happen. But, me missing 2 races in this series and being considered part-time in this series has affected me dramatically in the points. But she's, in her own right, she's done very well. I mean, even though I missed 2 races and I'm chasing her, she still is legitimately in 3rd place. So she's done a great job, and we're all very proud of her to be able to get in there. She's worked real hard. She's a very courteous driver, maybe sometimes too courteous, but she's doing it the right way as a rookie. She's given the veterans their room and their due, and trying not to affect the championship race that's going on, but she's still right there in 3rd place. So she's done a great job. I mean, once she gets her rookie season out of the way, it ought to take quite a bit of pressure off of her to be able to even compete even more. And I look forward to it. She's done a great job, and we're glad to have a female in our racing series. I think that it's something that women can and should do. Women are more detail oriented about things like that, and she's done a great job. You can't take anything away from her. So congratulations to her. I hope she does well. I mean, as a competitor, I don't give anyone a break because they're a female. I'm going to race her just as hard as I would a male, but I'm still kind of rooting for her. You know what I mean? Because it is her rookie season. And she's done a great job.
Absolutely. She's beaten me in every race we've been in the dirt for sure.
Yeah, and considering that she spent the first probably 3/4 of this season pretty much just, letting everybody go by, getting used to the tracks and racing, and not really, pushing the car or trying to necessarily finish. It's only really been the last few months that she's really stepped it up and actually started to race with us. So considering that she's been basically just letting everybody by for the most of this season, she's doing a great job. She's well ahead of me, almost 20 points ahead of me right now. And
yes, and also take into consideration that we've ran numerous seasons on all of these tracks that we're going back to for the 3rd, 4th, 5th time. Every one of these tracks that she showed up to has been her first time to race there, except the ones that we've repeated within the series. And that's phenomenal to be, because you even us veterans know that going to a track for the first time does create its own challenges. So that's, you know what I mean? She's up to the task. She is a racer, and she comes from a long line of racing. She comes from a racing family, so it's, you know what I mean? She has the resources. She has her dad is the foot doctor. He is the king of dirt. And even though he probably is not going to win this championship, it's the first one that he hasn't won in a while. So, hats off to Eli for doing what he needed to do to put himself out front against what I consider the best dirt racer I've ever raced against is Larry Yeager, Hot Rod the Foot Doctor. He's the master at dirt track racing in what we do.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely he is. And that's why he's called the Foot Doctor. because that's what it
Steaming
takes.
mad at dirt.
Well, while we've got this page up, I actually kind of like doing it like this. It makes things a whole lot easier for me to just go from one screen to the next. I don't have to spend nearly as much time loading everything up and clicking things on and off. Plus, I've got the page right here in front of me where I can just flip through this and show you guys whatever I want on this page here. So while we got it up, we might
now-
as well flip over.
Now, before we leave the dirts, now we won't forget the friendly competition for 7th here.
Yes, let's talk about 7th place
well,
for a second.
actually, look at that. 7th place, Eddie D and Palmian, only separated by 2 points.
Oh, it's heating up for 7th place. Is that last place or is that 7th?
No, we go all the way back. We got 17 drivers on this list. So 17.
Yeah.
people.
Tell those.
Where me and
113,
Eddie D finish, it's anybody's game in that one.
Yes, it is.
Those 113 and 75 fans will be packing the stands and wearing their favorite driver's shirt and maybe arguing and fighting over who's the best driver. But the scoreboard's going to decide at the end of the race at Springfield Mile Wednesday night.
Not this Wednesday. That will be next Wednesday.
Oh, next Wednesday.
I
that's
was
right.
going to go ahead and since we're going to be back in the trucks coming up this Wednesday, I figured before we move on to Thursday night, we'll go over here and take a look at the Wednesday truck chase and give you guys all an update. The 7 races we've run so far: Pocono, Eldora, Michigan, Bristol, Canadian Tire, road course, of course, Las Vegas, and Talladega. Just 3 races left to go in the chase for the Truck Series Championship. This week, tomorrow night, we will be back in the trucks at Martinsville. As you can see, we run the track Martinsville 2012 SDT. It is a little bit of an updated track from what came with the game. Great track, great racing, and Martinsville, it's a tough one. A few of us got a little bit of practice in last night, and I know myself, Palmian, and Eddie D were in there running a few laps. You got to use the brakes here at Martinsville. Not so much in the trucks as you do in the Cup, but you will have to use those brakes. And a corner exit can be a little bit tricky too. You can either be loose and spinning, or you can get in the gas too soon and be slapping the wall. So tomorrow night, Martinsville. Just 3 races left to go in this chase. Let's see what the standings are going in to the third from the last race. Mayhem with a pretty decent lead right now over Momo, 15 points ahead. Pockets in third, down by 19. I'm holding on to fourth, down by 29. And BSR Nuts in 5th place, down by 32. He's only 3 points behind me right now. Could very easily move up a spot if he has a good race at Martinsville tomorrow night.
Hey, we got Martinsville all 3 nights this week. That's 600 miles at or 600 laps at Martinsville.
No, I believe Friday night.
We're only doing 2 nights. 2 nights. Friday night's a free night.
Oh, Friday night's a free night. That's fantastic.
So
all right.
You can start the truck streaming early on Friday night.
I can start the truck streaming early on Friday night. Well, I am kind of disappointed that we aren't racing there all 3 nights because it's, Martinsville is fun and challenging. It's a tough place to race. I mean, that's a tough schedule for all 3 nights to do, but I like Martinsville. I'm not a big short track racer. I'm really not. The shorter the track, the worse I am at it. But I do like Martinsville. It's just fun. The racing's always good there. And when you get to short tracks like Bristol and Martinsville, it seems, history has shown that it can be treacherous. But we actually have really, really good short track races. We don't have a ton of cautions like you would think you would at a short track racing and short, in close contact with each other. I just hit a Mustang in the ass and pushed him through the intersection. So there's that.
Yeah, Martinsville, not so tough in the trucks as it's going to be in the Cup. Yeah, so the trucks you don't have to brake as much, not quite as much horsepower coming off the corner, so the back end doesn't tend to get away from you nearly as much. But definitely a tough track. I'm expecting Mayhem to have a pretty good car. He's had a good car all season. He's done extremely well in these chase races. I'm pretty sure he's going to have his setup together and be pretty good here in the trucks on Wednesday night, tomorrow night. Yeah, if it in the Cup, yeah, I might think maybe he might wear his tires out a little bit faster. He even might still even in the truck. If you overdrive these corners, you can burn that front tire off pretty quick. But it's not as bad in the truck, that tire wear. So I think most of us will probably be able to make a fuel run, which is somewhere in the range of 60 laps, I believe, at Martinsville, that you'll be able to run on a full tank of fuel. So that's a lot of laps to run at a short track, 60 laps before you pit. Times will definitely drop off toward the end of your fuel run. Your tires are going to be worn. Some strategy might come into play. Do you pit early and hope to get that extra speed on the track with fresh tires? Do you wait to the last minute? Maybe the caution comes out and those guys who pitted early are now a lap down. There's all kinds of things that could happen at these short
Now
tracks
they're
like
two
Martinsville.
laps down. That's what I was going to say. The strategy there is even more intense because you correct me if I'm wrong. If you pit under green at Martinsville early, you're going to go two down that when that caution comes out. Is that not right?
I think it's going to depend on where you're at on the track in relation to the other cars. So let's
Well,
say
you got to figure
if
at
first
Martinsville, you're turning 20 to 22-second laps. And like you were saying, it's going to depend on where you're positioned on pit road, how long it's going to take you to get to that pit stop before your pit stop even starts.
it's basically where you're at on the track in relation to that guy who pits. If you're already half a lap behind him when he goes in and pits, you're only going to put him one lap down. If you're pretty much right, first and second are pretty much right on each other's tail, first place pits, well, he might end up 2 laps down then. But
Well,
probably not for long because he's coming out with fresh tires. So he's going to be getting back onto 1 lap down pretty quickly. So depending on where you're at in relation to that guy on the track when he goes into pit. Like I said, if you're already half a lap or a quarter of a lap behind him, second place is a quarter lap behind first. First place pits. You're probably only going to put him 1 lap down and maybe be coming up somewhere close to him, but not quite a second lap down. So
well, that'll always tell you where I'm at whenever I'm usually
yeah,
in relation to the leader. I'm usually in the position where I go 2 laps down. So that's the strategy I have to play. I have to count on being 2 laps down. So that's why I try to look at that strategy like that, because I mean you can go 2 laps down, and what'll happen is that you can get trapped back there, and it takes several cautions for you to get untrapped and back into the lucky dog position, and sometimes it won't happen. If you're not careful, you can end up finishing the race and losing some positions because you never could get untrapped from being a lap down if the cautions fall just right. But on the other hand, if you play that just right, those cautions can be your friend sometimes if you're on the long run strategy, and the guys that are running real hard burn their tires up and have to pit. And we've seen that throughout the season, that you've got a couple of different philosophies depending on what track we're at people who are running hard all the time, taking their chances of pitting and not a caution not coming out. And you know as well as I do that caution is out to come out anytime. So it's a gamble either way.
oh yeah, and if you do happen to get caught 2 laps down, even if the caution does come out, you're going to have one lucky dog, and you could take a waiver round, which I would imagine there would be some waiver rounds, from people who happen to get caught laps down in that type of situation. But you're still going to be a lap down. you're only going to get one of those laps back, and you're still going to be a lap down, counting on another caution to be able to get back onto the lead lap. So, yeah, all kinds of things can happen here at these short tracks like this. So, tomorrow night we're going to see. We're going to see how it shakes out. Can Momo finish well ahead of Mayhem? Can he make up some of those 15 points before the 3 races to go? That's 5 points a race Momo's got to make up on Mayhem to take a championship away from him. That's not easy to do.
I think it's important for you and I to discuss what we've been discussing all week long, Chaser versus the Chasee. The pressure is on. Okay, I mean, the pressure is on Mayhem. I mean, the pressure is on Axel right now because he has to maintain that lead and not fumble. He fumbles this week. He puts himself in much more danger next week. And we're going to some tracks that Momo's he's a threat at.
Oh yeah. Well, let's go over here, take a look at what was the schedule like. So we're going to Phoenix after this. The trucks, it looks like, skip Texas. That's when we'll be racing the Springfield Mile, while the other series are at Texas. And we're going to be going to Phoenix and Homestead. Momo, pretty good at both of those tracks.
He's not no joke at Phoenix. I can tell you that. And if you're not up on your game and very confident at Phoenix, Momo will beat you at Phoenix. I mean, he will. He's good there. I've raced him too many times there.
So let's go over to the Cup Series.
I think that 201 car may be pretty good there too, though.
Yeah, I like Phoenix a little bit. Just a little bit.
I know. I don't.
So let's go over and take a look at our Cup Series Thursday night. We jumped out of the dirt into the Cup cars, ran at Kansas on Thursday night. And Thursday night it was that 201 car, original Drunken Cow Jerky flavor, that brought home the victory in the Cup Series at Kansas. That was a great race. That was a lot of fun. I had a very good car on Thursday night, and had an absolutely outstanding race. Yeah, it's always great to be able to bring home a win, especially when you're in the chase. I was behind a little bit and was able to make up some points with this victory here at Kansas. Any of you guys remember how many cautions we had on Thursday night at Kansas?
Looks like 4 of them.
How many?
We had 4.
Not bad.
Yeah, let's go over here to let me see if I can get them up. Go over here to the Thursday night Cup chase. Switch over, look at the schedule this race here. Well over halfway now. 6 races in to this chase. 4 races left to go. We will be racing Martinsville this Thursday night in the Cup Series. Then it's over to Texas. My home track, Texas, great place to race. Everybody loves racing at Texas. Phoenix, finishing up the season at Homestead. Let's take a look at the race results here. Does it tell us how many cautions we had?
How many on top of it? He said 4.
4. Where were you reading that? It does say, yeah, it says it right there. 4 cautions. Right there at the bottom.
I'll tell you what, the Palmeon's pretty sharp, man. I don't doubt him for a second. He's kind of jumped right in there and acclimated himself to this stuff. So if he says 4, I believe him.
Yeah, it was 4, which really not bad.
I cheated a bit. I already had the page up.
There you go.
So as you can see, I did have a great car on Thursday night. Led 106 laps. Looks like the only other person to lead a lap in that race was Bubba J, who led 1 lap. Wow, I didn't realize I led. I knew I led a lot, but I didn't think I led that much of the race.
Yep, I believe Bubba J only stayed out on the caution to get that lead lap as well.
Yeah, so finished 16 seconds ahead of second place. BSR Mayhem, 18 seconds ahead of BSR Pockets, who finished 3rd. Bubba J finished fourth, and Momo rounding out the top five. A hell of a race we had there. To finish that far ahead, I'm guessing we finished under green. I believe we had a green flag pit stop and ran the whole last run under green flag.
I'll tell you, my setup at Kansas needs some. My cup setup at Kansas needs some serious work. I didn't. I'll tell you, I made more adjustments in a race at Kansas in a car than I have all year long. I don't know how my notebook. I don't know if I was looking at the wrong page in the notebook or the crew chief gave me the wrong setup or what the deal was. But man, I struggled there. But I tried to recover the best I could. And that track that is my most favorite track besides Chicagoland Speedway wise, and I just really struggled there.
Well, having to reload all my my game after I what's the word I'm looking for? Stupidly deleted it.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
stupidly would be a good way
yeah, that
to
would be a good
describe
word.
that.
So yeah, having to reload my game and revert back to the setups that I had backed up. I only had a backup. All my setups were late 2017, early 2018. So most of them almost 2 years old, and in some cases it's put me behind the curve of what I did have with my current setups. But I think in a lot of the cases, and Kansas probably being one of them, it actually helped. I think my older setup was actually a better setup than what I had tweaked and adjusted for the newer setup, because that car was great. I mean, I put in that old setup that I'd been run a year or two ago, and I don't think I had to change it at all. It just ran great. I was really surprised when I started pulling away from people as the tires started to wear. So yeah,
Well, you think the competition that forced you to maybe put yourself out of the box, and then when you went back to an older setup, you found out that it was probably more comfortable. It wasn't as much on the edge. You could drive it more comfortably, have more confidence in it, and that the amount of competition forced you outside your comfort zone in your box on that deal. Would that be a good explanation for that?
possibly, or maybe just the more comfortable the setup. It wasn't as loose. I was able to drive it well, and the tires really held on. They held on pretty good. Normally, that's what I go for when I'm tweaking on a setup to try to make it better. Is get a little better tire wear out of it, and generally that means loosening it up some, moving the weight back, or increasing the track bar, or the spring split, whatever I can do to get the wear off of that right front. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it just makes the setup maybe a little bit too loose, and you can't drive it as fast as you want to, because you get in the gas and you're going to spin out. So, sometimes it's been a blessing going back to those old setups, and this week was definitely one of them.
Hey, you know that consistency, lap after lap, consistent lap times are the key, and being having to catch a car, or to maybe you're not real confident about it, will lead to those kind of things, to where a car that's really comfortable will lead you to be able to be more consistent lap after lap after lap, like you have to be. Because, and that probably is what led to that, the comfort of being able, and the confidence in the way it felt, instead of being on that ragged edge and being a little nervous and having to catch it. Because as well as I do, you race along halfway through a run and you have to catch a car a couple of times. That will shake your confidence a little bit and make you a little more nervous every time you go into one of those corners. So I think that's probably a key right there that you've hit on.
Well, I definitely enjoyed Thursday night's race, and the points, I believe, tightened up a little bit as well, because Mayhem, I'm pretty sure, was and maybe still is in the lead in this Cup Series as well. Momo lost a few points to him, finishing a few spots behind, and you finishing in third place gained some points on Momo. I think you're actually right there in contention here in this Cup Series with 4 races left. Let's take a look here at the standings, see what it's like. Oh, we have got a tie for the, look at that, 2 ties. So 6 races into the chase, just 4 races left to go, and we're talking about ties again. I know this usually at the beginning of a season, beginning of a series, we usually are talking about ties, 2 races, 3 races in, because that's kind of how it works out. But 6 races in to a chase, we got a tie for the lead, and we have a tie for third place. Mayhem and myself tied for first, and Momo and Pockets tied for third, 11 points back, with Hot Rod rounding out the top 5, only back by 17 points. So 4 races to go. Any one of those top 5 have a chance to bring home a victory. And 11 points back, 4 races to go. Pockets, you got a pretty legitimate shot at a Cup championship in 2019.
That's just crazy that you even say that, ain't it? I'm still letting that sink in. It's almost like a joke. But I will tell you this. That's why we say every one of those points, if it's tied right now, it could very easily be tied when we go into the last race. I mean, a lot of things can happen in the next few races here, and you had urged me to take a strong look at Phoenix this year, and I'm gonna have to load my car up and head to Phoenix and do some practice before we get there. There's no doubt about that. And for it to be that tight that's really phenomenal in the amount of competition that we have and how hard everybody's racing and going for that championship this year.
Yeah, and like you said, Phoenix, I was just going to mention that, Martinsville it's kind of a wild card track, like we were saying earlier. Anything can happen here. People pit early, they get trap laps down by the caution. You can get damaged pretty well, even though the tracks are short and it's a little bit of a slow speed. You can get some damage here and really hurt your car. It's a wild card track, so anything could happen at Martinsville. You could end up gaining some points here, but if you work on Phoenix, so that you can get a decent finish at Phoenix, maybe gain some points on the guys who are ahead of you, or at least not lose more than a point or 2 at that track. I know you run pretty well at Texas, and I know you run pretty well at Homestead also. So, uh, you know,
And I'll tell you about Martinsville. The one thing you're not going to do at Martinsville is you're not going to drive down into the infield and miss a wreck.
no,
It's like racing in a tunnel. You're not, you know what I mean? If something happens in front of you, you're highly likely to be involved in it, and that front end damage. You damage the front end of your race car, you're in trouble. I mean, you can seriously get in trouble at Martinsville quickly, and so it's going to be one of those things where you're going to have to try to race hard, but you're going to have to try to play it safe. So it's just, you know what I mean? It's all about the strategy that you carry into there that's gonna play out, and you hope you guess it right. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Well, Martinsville is another one of those old school tracks, like Bristol used to be before they widened out Bristol. The short, narrow, everybody on top of each other type track.
Yeah, and when there is an incident at Martinsville, it is generally right in the middle of the corner or right on corner exit. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a car sideways in the track, right in the middle of the corner or right on the corner exit. And there's nowhere to go at that point. I mean, if you're able to get out and around that car, then you consider yourself lucky there. Otherwise, you got to stop and pray that you don't get run over from behind, because sometimes that guy back there, he can't see that car that's turned around. I know it happened to myself when we were practicing. Palmy and I think went around mid corner, and me driving in car, I couldn't really see his car until I'm already rounding the corner. And by then it's too late. There's nowhere for me to go. I don't even have time to stop. And, so it's easy to get involved in something at one of these tracks. You can get T-boned right in the side of your door if you're that car that spins around. You could end up rolling over, flipping down the track. If you are able to stop, you can get creamed from behind and slammed right into that car in front of you. So yeah, definitely a wild card track coming up Wednesday and Thursday night here in the trucks and in the Cup Series. So Friday night we also ran at Kansas, and it was another great race. I think we had even less cautions on Friday night in the Xfinity Series.
That's correct. We had 2 of them.
Only 2.
Yes, sir.
And Friday night's winner, once again, the number 201. Great week at Kansas. Pulled off a sweep of Kansas here in the Chase. The only 2 races, Cup and Xfinity. So 201.
You did sweep, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Brought home the victory in 2 different series at Kansas this week. So it was an absolutely awesome race week for me. Just like Eddie D was saying earlier, how he enjoyed the racing. How could you not enjoy the racing when you win 2 races in the same week? So it was awesome. I love racing Kansas, and this last week was great for me.
Well,
Yeah, that was a
congratulations
great
on
win
the
for you,
sweep.
Texan.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, because you had somebody after you that night. I remember that race very well.
Yeah, I remember watching from further back in the field, and it looked like the 38 and the 201 were playing a little door-to-door nudgy there for a while.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There was some great racing. Pockets and I were actually swapping. I would pass him, driving the corner a little too deep. He'd get under me and come right back by on the very same lap or the next lap. So, and I think there was a couple of cars behind us that were doing the same thing. So there was a lot of great racing on Friday night.
That was a little 3-way action going on behind you guys between Bubba J, Gear, and myself that were doing a lot of door-to-door, wheel-to-wheel, swapping spots racing.
Texan, we've raced probably, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 something races on our way to racing like 96 races, not even counting the dirt, not even counting Saturday night. I mean, we run 90, I think it's 96, 93, 96 races. That was one of the most exciting races that I've run all year long because I love Kansas, and I know that we did some hellacious racing, good, clean racing, door to door, swapping the lead. I mean, that was some exciting stuff, man. I know you enjoyed that as much as I did because that was some great competition.
Oh, yeah. And you had me worried there in that last run because, yeah, if you remember, I was asking you, did you put on tape? How much tape did you put on? Because after that last green flag pit stop, I came out, I think it was somewhere in the range of 8 or 9 seconds ahead of you, and you were just running me down. I mean, it seemed like almost half a second a lap you were catching me, and I thought for sure. I mean, we had plenty of laps left, and at the rate you were catching me, I was like, man, he's gonna win this race. He's gonna catch me, and he's gonna pass me. But I guess you just drove the crap out of it and drove the tires off of it.
I did, but that was one of those situations where, I'm not, it's no secret that I'm not the greatest green flag pit stop guy. And I kind of count on a lot of those cautions to save me a lot of times. And I'll tell you that you pitted 2 laps earlier than I did. You got a little bit, the pit stop before that, I had a really good pit stop, but the last pit stop we had, that's where you won that race because it put me back far enough that I had to really lean on that car and give it all I had to catch you. And by the time I caught you, I just did not have the tires to be able to pull off the victory and get around you. And you pulled me a little bit there, but that is classic racing right there. It really is.
Well, I almost made the mistake in that last pit stop that would have gave you the victory, exiting pit road, coming around the apron there before you're allowed to enter the track. My car, it got loose, almost went around on me. If you go back, you can see it in my stream. I think you'll hear me, do a whoa or something like that. But you can see my wheel. Because since I race in the car, everything you see that steering wheel do on my stream, that's exactly what I'm doing with my steering wheel here on my desk. And you can see my wheel literally go left, right, and to try to keep the car from spinning around. And somehow I did. I kept it from spinning, but I damn near lost it coming out of pit road. And if I had lost that right there, spun around, you would have been right on top of me, if not past me, before I even exited pit road. And I probably would have worn a lot of my tire off by going around like that as well. So I nearly made that mistake coming out of pit road that would have given you that race.
Well, that's uh, a lot of races depend on the attrition, the mistakes that another driver can make, and that's why you're such a tough competitor, because you understand that and you make very few mistakes, and that makes everyone better that's competing with you. Because like me, I knew that I couldn't make any mistakes. I had to really, I literally was holding my breath when I was pitting, because I knew that I had to do as good as I possibly could and stay up on that wheel, and I couldn't make any mistakes. If I was going to capitalize on a mistake that you made, that means I have to make zero mistakes. And I had what I consider a great race for the 38 team. We had a absolute fantastic race. We led a lot of laps. We were competitive, but it's those little nuances, those little things within the race that lead to those, whether you're standing in victory lane or you're the guy coming over and congratulating the guy in victory lane. And Friday night, I was the guy coming over to congratulate you, and hats off to you on the win, brother. It was a great race. I really enjoyed racing with you Friday night. That was what it's all about, man. And that right there was a perfect example of why we've been doing this for 16 years. That's how much fun that was.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the racing, the side by side, the swapping back and forth, and it was a lot of fun. Let's go over here and take a look at the rest of the schedule here. The Xfinity Series is off this week, so they do not race at Martinsville. They will be back on Friday, the 1st of November, back at Texas. That's going to be a great race, Texas Motor Speedway, in all the series.
Yes, it is.
Texas is a big, fast track, and we're going to have a lot of fun racing there. So let's check out the results here from Kansas. I did bring home the victory, led 72 laps. Pockets in second place, led 31 laps, and looks like we were the only two on the lead lap. The rest of the field had a little bit of trouble. Momo finished in third place, but a lap down. And look at Eddie D. Eddie D with a fourth place, bringing home a top 5, and Bubba J rounding out the top 5. Palman didn't do too bad there with a 6th place finish. Few laps down, but 6th place, not too shabby. Especially for being a rookie and only being only having a handful of races under your belt. You're doing a pretty good job.
Well, I definitely do try to practice fairly often to get the skills, and in fact, I'm doing it the hard way. It makes it all the more challenging, but it also improves me a lot faster than it would have.
Yeah, learning the drive with no steering assist and no stability is definitely a challenge. It's a challenge that most of us, myself included, I drove for years with that stability and the steer assist on, and finally I managed to just turn the stability off and leave it off and use only the steering assist. And it took a while to wing myself off of that completely. I don't know, Pockets, you may remember this season. I don't remember what season it was. I think it was somewhere around 2010, 2011, somewhere in there, um, that I decided to just turn it off because I had slowly gone down. You know, I used to be at 30% steer assist. You know, I went down to 20, then I went down to 10, got it down to 5%, and you know, once you start dropping from there, you know, it's pretty close to the same. You just gotta eventually just gotta turn it off, and that's what I did, and it was an entire season almost of racing. I went through almost the whole season before we got to the chase, before I feel like I finally had a handle on it and wasn't spinning out every race. So yeah, hats off to you for learning it the hard way, because like I said, it takes almost a good full season of racing before you really got a good handle on what you got to do with your wheel and your gas pedal to drive that thing with no aids or no assists on. You remember that season, Pockets? Y'all probably I used to think y'all dreaded that because you knew there's going to be a caution or two every race because I'm going to be self-spinning because I didn't have any kind of assist on.
Well, I will tell you this. I mean, here's the advantage that Palmion has that I think he may not know is that what's cool about that is that it, he's learning from day one, which none of us ever did that way. So he really doesn't know what he's missing. He's taken all of his lumps at the very beginning, right off the bat. So if he continues on that path, he's never really going to. It's like having a bad habit. It's like he's never going to have that bad habit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, because once you drive with it on, it is extremely difficult to turn it off and try to learn without it because it's completely different from what you've been doing. You know, you have to what you do with the steering wheel um, is totally different. You know from when you have some assist on versus when you don't.
Yeah, and
Hey,
that was the game plan from the get go. It's teach me the hard way, so I never have to rely on the tools to begin with, and then I have to go through a whole nother learning curve.
well, the one thing that's the most important about that is that shows a lot of patience, and it shows that he's really dedicated, because that can be more frustrating than anything you can imagine wrecking during. I mean, you're competing, you're doing good, you lose your car, you crash into the wall, you're damaged, you know you're not going to get as good a finish as you could have, and it does make a difference, but in the long run, in the big scheme of things, that is going to lead to him being a fantastic racer. I mean, it really is.
Yeah,
Oh, and every time I wreck my car, I learn how I can make it just a little bit faster when I wreck it. I learn what I can get away with to help make me faster. It brings up my awareness on where everyone is on the track so that A, I'm not getting in the way of the actual competitors, but B, it'll heighten my awareness to be able to look around to make sure that when I am competitive, I'm making the right moves.
Yes, and I'll tell you another thing that's going to really make a huge advantage is when we start going back around next season to some of the tracks that you've already been to, and we race at a lot of tracks 2 times a year. That's going to be a huge benefit for you, because you're going to have learned a few little things and a few little spots in the track, and it's just going to continue to help you improve.
Oh, absolutely. I look forward to becoming, one of the midfield racers and then one of the front racers. Super speedway. It's easy for the rookies to run, and I tend to do pretty well there. And the short tracks are where I'm gonna have the biggest growth. So let's look forward to next season. Heck, this season I'm taking my lumps. I'm learning what I got to learn, and first part of next season will go through pretty rough. But by the end of it, I'm pretty sure I'll do pretty well. That's why I embrace the title of rookie.
And you know what? What's so great about that is what you just said. If people didn't know we were talking about simulated racing, that's exactly what you just said was exactly what a real rookie says in a real racing series. No matter whether it's dirt or short track asphalt racing or other things like that, it's still the same. And that's what I'm the most proud of with our group is how we can actually simulate racing because this isn't an Xbox game. It isn't a video game. It is simulated racing, and the way we have it set up, it does.
Mic cut out.
Oh, did it cut out? I'm sorry.
There you go. We can hear you now.
All right, but yeah, that's what's great about the simulated racing that we do. We're simulating real racing, and he's learning just like a real rookie would in a real racing series. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm proud that he stuck it out and trying hard and showing a lot of patience and learning.
Yep, and you still have the off season to go through as well before we kick off next season. So you'll have a lot of chances during the off season in a couple of different mods to be able to practice even more and get it down even more before you head into the 2020 season of racing.
Oh yeah, and the other huge benefit is that there are so many of us newer drivers that I mean we've kind of got our own little friendly competition back here. Vito, whenever he's on the track with me, he says always jokes that we're racing for last place, but next thing you know, we're going to be racing for the mid pack, and we're all kind of driving each other and looking at what each other's doing and saying, man, that's a nice job, but I'm going to catch you next week. So it gives us our own little drive.
Yeah, just like you and I, a couple of points apart, Palmiot.
Absolutely. In the dirt series, man, me and Eddie, we had a goal to reach top 10. Now we're, both going for 7th place. We're definitely not going to catch 6 because that's just too many points out for what we have left. But, he's very strong in the dirt and he's very strong on the asphalt too. So it's always fun racing around Eddie. I know exactly where he's going to be from our practice sessions. I know his style driving. I know I don't have to worry so much about when I'm around him on track, I know where, him and I can get away with a little door-to-door brushing and pushing each other hard.
We're joined by BSR Bubba J. How you doing, Bubba J?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Eddie Spaghetti.
What are you guys up to?
We're doing the spotter stand, and I'm driving the truck while we're doing the spotter stand. I'm streaming me driving the truck while I'm phoning it in to the spotter stand. So it's groundbreaking stuff here. Just
good
absolutely
idea.
groundbreaking.
It's a good idea.
And he's pushing Mustangs into intersections. Don't let him forget that one.
So have you been pulled over yet? Any tickets?
What? He got a new car?
No, I'm asking if you got any tickets. Have you been pulled
No,
over?
no, I just hit a car though. Actually, the car just hit me. But amazingly, I looked a while ago, and there's currently 296 people listening to us and watching me drive this truck, and I don't know where they came from.
Well,
somebody shared it somewhere, and I have no idea where all these people come from.
You got all the extra chatter from the spotter stand going on tonight.
I guess that's what it is. I still think it's a glitch, but maybe it's not.
Hey, you're driving a truck and talking about racing. How much better can it get?
It doesn't really get much better than that, I don't think.
So let's go take a look at the points here for Friday night. Point standings in the chase with 3 races left to go. Momo still holding on to the lead, only up by 2 points over myself. I gained a few points on Momo with that victory on Friday night. And look at Pockets, also another legitimate chance here at this championship. In 3rd place, only 10 points back. And in Gear, moving up 2 spots to take over 4th, down by 63, and Bubba J in 5th, down by 67. Let's see, where's the battle there? It looks like Eddie D, Palmion separated by quite a bit here in this series. But Eddie D only 1 point behind Hot Rod currently.
Well,
only 2 points behind Mayhem.
to that point as well, with only 3 races left, Eddie D's got a good shot at even taking 4th from gear.
Yeah, 4th from gear, or if Bubba J, Bubba J is at what is he? He looks like Bubba J is 6 points ahead of Eddie D right now. So
Yep.
Eddie D, you got a possible even a top 5 in the chase on Friday night.
Well, all I can say is I'm going to do my best. We'll see where it comes out in the wash. I mean, we were talking about this last Friday's race, and Bubba J wasn't here at the time. But I was telling everybody, Bubba J, how we had like a little 3-way battle going on back there between yourself, Gear, and myself.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a good race. Kept it pretty clean.
Yeah, we did. And even that one little brush we had, it's like I said during the race. It was just hard racing between you and I.
Yep.
Well, only 2 cautions on Friday night, and a lot of green flag pit stops. Pockets and I were swapping back and forth. You guys were back there battling it out, and with that close of racing going on, cars battling each other, passing, swapping positions, only 2 cautions. That was a great race. Friday night was absolutely a great race. The 3 races we've got coming up: Texas, Phoenix, and Homestead. Momo, I think, runs pretty strong at all 3 of those tracks. I'm not sure Phoenix. Uh, I think he usually does pretty well there, but I know he's
No,
good.
he's very good at
Yeah,
Phoenix.
I
He's
know he's
very,
good at.
very good at Phoenix.
Yep, and I know he's good at Texas, and he does pretty well at Homestead. So only 2 points separating first and second, 10 points back to third place. So we're going to see what happens coming up. Not this week, but next week at Texas. See if any points change, any positions change here. See how that goes. Momo doing a great job so far, though, holding on to this. I know he wants to win a championship just as much as Mayhem. Mayhem is really wanting to. Mayhem's got two opportunities right now, leading 2 different series. Momo been in the lead in this Friday night series now for most of the chase. So I know he's wanting to hold on to that. So let's move over, talk about Saturday night. Saturday night team series. It was race number 3 of season 39. 7 races left to go. And we had a repeat team take the win on Saturday night. It was BSR Scar at number 83 truck for the Ghost team. Took a second win for the Ghost team this season. They won the first race right out of the chute and turned around and won the third race as well. So absolutely great job by this Ghost team so far this season. I believe that is Scar, Rugrat, and SS Joba running on that team. SS Joba's missed a few races. I think he missed the first 2. So it was just Scar and Rugrat for those first 2 races. They managed to pull off a victory in race number 1. And SS, with his little absence, he had a little bit of trouble this last week. He didn't have the greatest race. I think he had some trouble in the pits more than once. But his team, BSR Scar, pulled it off for him last week.
That Saturday night team series racing, man, it's being able to pull off 2 in a row is a huge accomplishment, man. So congratulations to the 83, and that's the Ghost team, isn't it?
That is the Ghost team. That is the Ghost team.
Yeah,
And not just Scar in the 83. He not to mention his teammate, the 065 of Rugrat, was right there helping push him all the way up front.
Yeah,
they worked great. I mean, they really did.
He had to do some work at the end of that race to hold on to that top spot because my teammate, Bubba J, was right behind him at the end of that race. Eddie D was also up there. All 3 of us in the hot team, we were all 3 in that front pack. And Scar was having to move up, move down, block the high line, block the low line. And I don't know how he did it, but Bubba J was very kind to him, staying off of his bumper. But Scar Scar pulled off a hell of a win on Saturday night because he had to block, like I said, he had to block the crap out of the high and the low line for several laps to be able to stay in the lead and pull off that victory. So, hats off
Yeah.
to Scar for doing that. Hats off to Bubba J for staying off his bumper and not taking him out. And we had a nice clean race, a good clean finish.
Yeah, we definitely got to hand it to Scar on that one. Great race, Scar, for the Ghost team. And Rugrat did great. And like you said, Texan, I had the low line, Bubba J had the high line, and no matter where Scar went, he had to deal with one of us. And for the driving he did, it was just phenomenal just watching it from where we were.
Eddie,
Yeah,
are you on a train?
and I haven't won a race. I haven't won a race in probably 3 years or more. But I have helped people win races, but I've never won a race for 3 or 4 years. So I was trying that night.
You were pretty close, I believe, in that. Was it the first race? No, the second race where it came down to fuel, and we were all running out coming off of the last corner. You were right there. I think you finished second in that race as well. So you've been right there. Just not.
I've been
quite
trying.
Yeah.
I'd like to win. I'd like to at least win one. But if I don't, and I help somebody else win, it's like I think I help Hot Rod win one of the races.
Let's move over
because I
here.
told him if I caught him, I was going to stay with him, and that's what I did.
Let's take a look at our race results here from Daytona this past Saturday night. It was the Ghost team. Scar brought home the victory. Led 7 laps. Brought home bonus point for leading a lap for his team. Also, Bubba J in the 343 brought home second place for the Hot team and held the other teams back a little bit there. The original team, it was the 126 of Gear bringing home their top spot, which was 7th place. So they got 7th place points, 37 points for the original team. And Beer Bacon with an 8th place finish, 36 points. You guys remember points last week were about as close as they can get. The top few teams, I think, were only separated by 3 points. It was about 1 point back to second place and 3 points back to third place. I think it was only about 8 points back to last place.
7 points, yeah.
7 points, yeah. So it was really close last week. Of course, Ghost now with 2 victories, they're gonna likely be in the lead and maybe a decent lead over second place. So let's go take a look here at the standings. Just 3 races in. It is the Ghost team with an 8-point lead over second place, which is the Hot team. Original in third place down by 11, and Beer Bacon in fourth down by 18. So what a difference just one race can make. When you have teams that finish, their top finisher is 7th place and 8th place, they're going to lose quite a few points to the winning team and second place team. When that's how this strategy really comes into play on these Saturday night team races. You got 3 cars on a team, and you're only scoring the top finisher for that team. So if your team finishes first, second, and third, that means whoever finishes fourth for their team, that's what they're getting, 4th place points versus a victory for your team. So putting your cars, even if you're not being scored for your team, putting your car in front of another team, and that puts them back another position. It makes a big difference here. There's all kinds of different strategies in this team series on Saturday night, and it's always interesting to see how things shake out every week. So looks like all these teams, Hot, Original, Beer Bacon, we've got some work to do if we want to catch up with that Ghost team. 7 races left to go. So there's a lot of racing left to do on Saturday night in season 39, but that Ghost team off to a great start. They're going to be tough to beat this year.
Well, and you know how Saturday night goes, man. Anything can happen on Saturday night in that team series racing. Super speedways, all super speedways, Daytona night, Talladega, and we go back and forth between all of those. That's A lot can happen in 7 races. I mean, a lot can happen in one race, but yeah, I tell you, that's pretty impressive for them to come into the race with the lead. Gar won the race last week. Come in, backs it up, solidifies their, puts a little distance out there. Sends the message that they're a contender this year. So, but I'll tell you, and Texan, you probably follow the strategy and all of the different scenarios that Team Racing presents better than anyone out there. And you do know that they have painted a big bullseye on their back. So
Oh yeah,
there is that.
absolutely. Yeah, I know for sure that all these other teams they're always looking at who's right in front of them, who's right behind them, who can you afford to finish behind and who do you absolutely have to finish in front of. So it's just going to make it that much more difficult with that
Yeah, and
kind
who
of a
can
lead.
Yeah, and who can you work with? You know what I mean? Who can you work with to try to help your team? And now everybody's going to be looking at the Ghost team and saying, "Well, we're not working with those people."
Yeah, don't get in the same line with those cars. But
I mean that is one of the scenarios that it presents of jumping out to the lead like that. I mean, it does literally paint a bullseye on your back.
yeah, and on the side of the Ghost team, they can play their strategy different. Instead of lining up together and working together in the same line when they know other teams are not necessarily going to get in line with them, they can split themselves up, put themselves in different lines, one being the high, one being the low. That way, no matter where these other teams decide to go, one of them isn't going to be in that line and be moving along with them, so strategies change as the racing goes on, and as each race unfolds, strategies will change as well. You start out with that strategy of let's all keep up here at the front, let's try to get everybody to lead a lap, and as the race unfolds and you go through green flag pit stops, cars fall off the lead draft. Cars may get black flags, and your strategy has to evolve with the race. You're going to change whatever your strategy may be. Like this last week, my two teammates toward the end of the race, it was inside 10 to go. They were both a lap down. And we got inside 10 to go. Now, normally you would not be able to do what I did when that last caution came out. It was inside 10 to go. Normally caution comes out, it's hold your position. You are where you are. You can't pass until you got to just ride around to the finish line. But being inside 10 to go and race back, I was able to pull up to the high line and let my two teammates go low and pass me. It's race back. You're allowed to pass. So my two teammates who were a lap down, right back on the lead lap at the end of that race. And I almost didn't think of that. I was almost going to ride right in line right there. And at the last minute, I thought, wait a minute, it's race back. You guys passed me low, so they did and got back on the lead lap. So you got to change your strategy with each race. And as that race unfolds, if your car's you got a lap car that's a lap down and he's maybe only 5 seconds ahead of you and you're coming up on the end of the field, maybe it's a good idea for him to just slow down and let you catch up to him and put him a lap down so that he can help push you maybe to a victory or to a better finish. There's all different kinds of ways and strategies change as these races unfold every week. This is absolutely a great series.
That's actually the absolute beauty of, and we come up with the concept just because we wanted to do something different, and we didn't even realize on the surface, team racing like that is a fantastic idea. I mean, it's just a great idea. It's something different, something that we normally don't do. You don't really see that in any type of real world racing series. I mean, in real racing, yeah, they have teammates, but they're still competing against each other. They're not working together on the track as a team every lap, every race, the way we do that. And on the surface, that idea was great because of that. but then the different scenarios presented itself that we didn't even realize. And there is just so many loopholes and strategies and ways to play it and look at the points that it's really incredible how many different scenarios that can produce in a just a regular race.
Yeah, in just
I
one
just-
race, not to mention the full season of 10 races, so in just one race, there's so many different scenarios that can present themselves as far as a strategy for your particular team. And like I said, that things happen during that race, and that causes you to then alter or change your strategy, and yeah, a lot goes on just in one race, much less all 10 of them.
Absolutely. So that's I mean, like I said, we didn't realize we just realized on the surface that was something fun, something different. But then once we started doing it and we started discussing it while the race was going on and looking at the points and everything, it did become something completely different.
Yeah, and it started out as a great idea, and that's part of the reason why it's lasted so long. Um, is it's such a great concept and it's a great thing that goes on with the team racing. Not only all the strategies, but like we've said before, the mixing up of the teams every season. You get to know everybody in your league, and you get to become friends with everybody instead of just, your normal few guys you might talk to that and you talk to every race. At one point during this team series, you're going to be put on a team with somebody you might not normally know or talk to every single race, and you're going to race 10 races with them as their teammate, have them on your whisper, work together, and it just brings the league as a whole together. You get to know everybody in your league really well, and not all the great strategies, and it's an awesome series, and whoever it is that came up with this ought to get a pat on the back. Who was that? I believe he's driving his truck streaming on Facebook right now.
Hey, what you just described about how the different people who may not, that was really why the team series, that was another reason why we created that, because we seen people we were all on the same team, but some people were close friends with others, and some people didn't really. And we wanted everybody to kind of get to know each other. And I've always said that the team series always led to, you may not really know a guy, but by the time you race 10 races on the Saturday night team series with him, you'll be on his Christmas card list. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it has worked out that way. I mean, everybody gets to know everybody, and like I said, it makes us all better friends, and every other race that much better. So,
Absolutely.
So this Saturday night we'll be back in Talladega, in the Cup cars once again. I believe this will be the last race in the pink cars. We are doing pink cars for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is October. This will be our last race in the pink cars, and then we'll be on to the normal team colors. So we'll see you guys back out in the pink cars this Saturday night at Talladega. I think that's about all we have for you this week. We covered every night of racing. We covered the points of every series. Remember, we will be back in the trucks tomorrow night. We're going to be at Martinsville. So we're looking forward to seeing all you guys out there on the track tomorrow night. And it's going to be another great week of racing here at BSR.
Yes, it has been. And this has actually been pretty cool to be able to be on the spotter stand while I'm in my truck driving and streaming for the American Truck Syndicate and being on the spotter stand on YouTube. Like I said, that's groundbreaking. I don't know that anybody's ever done that before. I don't know that anybody would want to do that, but it's still something that nobody's ever done before. And It's actually, I think they might have enjoyed listening to us talk about racing on basically a podcast kind of deal for our racing series while I'm driving and clocking miles for Syndicated Incorporated. I figured I would just get a jump on what I needed to do and participate on the spotter stand. So thanks to everybody that tuned in on the stream over here to watch that.
Well, maybe you can make that a regular thing. Maybe next Tuesday. Maybe next Tuesday you can do the same thing. Just get in your truck and we'll do the spotter stand.
I think I can. I don't really see a problem with it. It's a little. I need to get a little more acclimated at being able to do it because you kind of lose concentration on this side, but it doesn't really. You know what I mean? Your truck doesn't really get that much damage. I've only hit a couple of things, so. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, it really was.
Yeah, I'm sure you fared a lot better than that Mustang did.
Yes, I tore the butt off of that Mustang, I can tell you.
Well, with that, we're going to roll out of here, and we will see you guys on the track at Martinsville tomorrow night.
Hey, thanks to everybody for being here. Eddie D, Bubba J, Texan, Palmion, the rookie, and we'll see
Ricky's
y'all
going
this
pretty
week.
good.
We'll see y'all this week at headed to Martinsville to do some racing. So thanks everybody for tuning in.
Night, y'all.
Absolutely. Good night, everybody.
All right, guys.